You're tuned in to Agriculture Today, and we start our Friday show with a grain market update with K-State grain economist Dan O'Brien. Dan, thanks for joining us once again.
Thank you, Shelby.
Looking at the grain market, we always start our conversation off with futures. And so, Dan, what are futures looking like?
Well, interesting patterns. We're in the midst of fall harvest for corn, for soybeans, for sorghum, and any price move to the high side is kind of welcomed at this time, and really sort of a surprise. We did see on yesterday's markets that the corn contracts closed up about 11 cents. The lead, the first about 10 5, 6, 7, 8 contracts for soybeans closed up about 7 cents, and wheat closed up about 24. So, and frankly, those are welcome. And when you look at those price moves are welcome. D's corn closed at 497 and a half, and looking at a chart at the chart patterns, and again we're we're in harvest, and so are we moving sideways? Are we showing more weakness? Are we moving higher? Actually, for corn now, since the lows that occurred about in early September, we've been moving a bit sideways. Mid-September, been moving sideways a little bit higher. So that's a thought-provoking thing, and a positive signal. And some of that has to do with still concerns about where the size of this year's corn crop will come in. We're going to talk about a WASDE reports coming up next week as well, but coming out of the end of September, we did see a sign of tighter ending stocks in the old crop marketing year, which will make for a little tighter supplies in the new crop marketing year. So that's also a positive factor coming into the corn market. But still, overall, we had gotten down to about 470 at the low here of late, and again closed yesterday at about 497, still under $5, but generally a little bit of an uptrend. I would say for soybeans that we closed yesterday on for the November contract, lead contract and harvest at the same time, closed at $12.80 we've come down on soybeans from the highs of about in late August, early September, of about 14.10 or so. Now we're down below $13, down to again where we said we were at on yesterday's close, about 12.80, and are showing a little bit of a sideways action. I think the markets are still looking at what type of export pace we have, which isn't terrible, but it could be better. Again, we're still weighing some South American planting issues, et and overall, some signs of a little bit of a sideways move for soybeans, but not as strong of a sideways to higher move yet for beans as we've seen for corn. And again, the WASDE crop production report coming up is very likely, probably expected to show some decline for soybean yields and soybean production. What came out of the stocks and the NAS reports stocks and other information, basically in essence added about 20 million bushels to the ending stocks to use on the old crop marketing year, but nothing that wouldn't be dwarfed by a change of 50 to 100 to 200 million bushels in case the soybean yields fall off from what the market might be seeing. And also for grain sorghum in general, we still have had an up and down performance on grain sorghum exports. I guess I'd say kind of bearish in the short run, but still still pretty positive in the long run. So I guess we'll see where that goes. For wheat futures, as we're focusing on that, just a long-term negative pessimistic slide in the Kansas hard red winter wheat futures contract traded on the CME. Again, from highs of about 930 or so happening in July and early August, we've come down all the way down to a low of about 650 or about 660 thereabouts. Closed yesterday up a little bit, up to 690 and a half. And that run up of about 20 cents, about 24 cents on the December contract was the first positive move we've seen in wheat for a good long time. So this shows the depths to which we've fallen. Exports, really not a bad week in terms of overall U.S. wheat exports. We actually came in at 14 million, 14.3 million bushels. We need about 13.8 to meet the USDA's projection, and that's, it's not many weeks here for wheat exports that we actually beat the pace that's needed to meet what the USDA is projected for hard red winter wheat. Hard red winter wheat in our shop came in at about 1.3 million bushels, need about 3.6. So again, an up and down situation. The strength is in the last several weeks has been in hard red spring wheat exports. Had about 6 come in during the week ending September 28th. Need about 3.6 to meet the USDA's pace. So again, up and down in terms of all of that. So stand back and look at where the futures are at. Still showing some volatility, but overall, just I guess a tacit acceptance that, hey, we're in harvest lows, and we're still getting some supply demand information from the USDA, but we've kind of turned the corner now in our focus and are looking for these low prices that have come about to give us some export business and to help us on the demand side.
And what are some of those cash prices for those crops that are in harvest?
Well, for corn, at the highest corn price and best basis bid is again in the Garden City area in Kansas, at least for the 6 areas that we follow. 522 is a cash price at a positive 25-cent basis, so that's good. We do see next highest prices in Salina at about 510, the Salina area. Here you have 498 in Colby, 485 in Columbus, 467 in Topeka. So again, just not a time of great strength, I guess, for corn. For grain sorghum, we still see in the Topeka area, again, if you're 467 for corn, the highest price for sorghum is 502. So strong bids there. Hutchinson, 547 is a high price compared to 512. High price for sorghum versus corn. So you got that going on. Other places, not a lot of difference. 538 in Salina versus 510 for corn. So again, enthusiasm, good prospects for grain sorghum exports. China being involved, and we'll see how long that holds up, and hopefully it holds up for the whole marketing year for sorghum folks. For soybeans, again, all prices now have dropped below $13. They're at well, basically the highest price that we had seen in these areas we're watching is 1246. We're coming into harvest, and so I guess that's to be expected. Lowest price, Garden City, 1191, and others somewhere in between. Again, between Salina, Topeka, Columbus, we're basically 1232 to 1241, so about the same. Again, Hutchinson a little bit higher. And then for wheat prices, with the international issues that we're looking at, we've seen prices now fall. As we talked about, it wasn't a bad week for wheat exports. We've had low prices apparently attract some export business, and you hear rumors of China buying some, other countries coming into play, Mexico. But we see cash prices now with the high in Salina of $6.70, so we're below $7. And 665 in Topeka, 630 in Columbus, Hutchinson 670, and then 631 Garden City, 606 in Colby. So our veteran market watchers, veteran farmers, they see these prices, and they're not surprised by the geographic differentials that you see, or during times of low prices that you attract some buying interest, and that ends up and is helpful. Of course, we're now in October. We're seeding wheat where we have the moisture to do so, and even where we don't sometimes. So we'll see where all that goes on down the road.
And Dan, you mentioned that the WASDE report's coming out next week on October 12th. And are there what are you expecting from that?
I think a person has to keep in mind that the time frame and that WASDE report and the tied in with it crop production report, the time frame they're out in the fields looking at yields is basically right around October the 1st. So they've been doing that. In fact, we're right now on the backside of where they were at. And as you drive around the country, you see quite a bit of soybeans being cut. You see some of the dryland corn, or some corn that suffered more from drought, that had dried down more quickly. That's being harvested. The total percent harvested right now in the U.S. Overall is about 20%. So still quite a bit of movement to happen. We do hear reports on the soybean side. If you ask me what I expect, maybe it's more anecdotal, but it'll be interesting to see if the soybean yield can hold up and not have been affected by that hot, dry conditions that came in kind of a flash heat wave in the latter part of September, mid late September. It does seem like, at least we're hearing from farmers, that gosh, their soybean yields are really affected tangibly. Now for corn, up and down. So much depends on how much moisture they have, what cropping system they're in, under irrigation or not. And it's kind of to the point where, whereas you drive around the country and you see really tough looking corn, we've some of that's out by now, you can tell, dilapidated stalks, etc. But pardon me, the other fields looking pretty good. So and we get reports from the Eastern Corn Belt, some very good, others not. And we just need to cut through the fog of online reported expectations of good yields and or others that are the people with good yields ones more likely to speak out, or are the ones with tougher yields more likely to speak out? I guess we're going to find that out. It's kind of a human behavioral issue. By the time we get to the report, I believe that's on the 12th, if I'm not mistaken, coming up on Thursday. So I think that I expect the market to really zero in on the crop production report numbers, and then we'll filter that through the supply and demand balance sheets and see where we stand. I would not be surprised that the soybean yield would drop 1 or 2 bushels per acre yet, and that really tighten up the supply demand balance sheet for U.S. soybeans, and the prices respond at least moderately so to that. On the corn, it's uncertain. We're already down to in the 173, 174 range. Will we go farther? Will we go lower than that or not? And that's really unknown at this point.
Dan, I appreciate you taking the time to join us today and give us a grain market update.
Thank you, Shelby. I appreciate working with you. Thanks.
That was K-State grain economist Dan O'Brien. We're cutting to a short break now on Agriculture Today, but we'll be back with more ahead.